47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McKamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head...
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1-yard line.
Join us for the annual Walk and Wheel on Sunday, September 22nd to end ALS. We've high-fived thousands of participants, raised millions of dollars, and impacted hundreds of families. With your help, the good keeps growing. Register at walkandwheelnm.org. See you there. Join us for the annual Walk and Wheel on Sunday, September 22nd to end ALS. We've high-fived thousands of participants, raised millions of dollars, and impacted hundreds of families. With your help, the good keeps growing. Register at walkandwheelnm.org. See you there.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mental.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
I still think that Howl sounds like somebody dying. Anyway, hey, my name's Ryan Morey. I'm under the weather. You're going to have to forgive me a little bit of a sinus infection. So bear with me and the way I sound. Welcome to the Morning Howl. We are a UNM football pregame show brought to you by Dulce River Bakery and Coffee. Appreciate them over at Hydro Bar, Armando and his wife. Also affordable service, heating, plumbing, and conditioning for your HVAC needs in the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area. Affordable service has been in business in New Mexico since 1986, and it is still locally owned. During that time, they've served more than 40,000 customers, providing complete residential and light commercial HVAC services, including heating and cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Affordable Service takes pride in their staff and their commitment to Albuquerque and the Rio Rancho community. Hey, join the conversation today. Before I get to my guests, we're a little bit of a light. What do I want to say? A little light on the guests today, and the usual.
But we'll be heavy on the howl.
There we go. Yeah, we're heavy on the howling. As you hear me die or hack up my heart or lung. Ed's on his way to Silver City. He's the voice of Western New Mexico. Nick couldn't join us. Jacob Neff is supposed to be here. I know he's been under the weather. I don't know where he is. And Eric will be shooting the game tonight. He couldn't join this morning, but I'm joined by the one, the only Richard Thompson, a two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Sartans. Played for Damian Segura and all the way from the Bay Area, which don't play. Rick, how you doing?
Richard. Ryan, loyal listeners, how we doing today? My throat is not cleared yet either. The sun is rising here. We're about to start a new day of football. Let's thank God for this sport and for God for this beautiful day. And I also want to show everyone something really quick. In honor of the two new basketball recruits we just got, I wanted to share myself, Mr. Thompson, will be ready for the season. If the Lobos need a 16th or 17th player on the bench, I could be a practice player. I will take the charges and hit the deck for Coach Patino if needed. But I'm ready to talk about this football game, Ryan, and the dog matchup we got today.
We've got that dog in us today. We'll get to some picks. I don't know if Jacob will jump on, but I will. Damn, it's gotten worse. I will give my picks for the day. I don't know. But feel free to join the conversation. Man, I was going to come in here guns a-blazing against the Saturday morning shows on 610. I can't do that because we probably suck this morning. Hey, follow us on social media, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Feel free to join the conversation. I know John Romero already has. Let's get howling pit press, gentlemen. As I always say, I appreciate you saying howl because Lobos don't wolf. I pissed off people with that comment. I want to start here with the game in Pullman last night, which was really, you know what? Well, let me break this down first. Here's today's game. This is fantastic live TV. And you know what? Let me put this. Nope. There we go. Tonight at University Stadium, aka Al Hurricane Stadium, we're pushing for that with Pitbull naming the naming rights to FIU, or I don't know, Richie Valens. I'm sure that's more probably prominent to Southern California. But 6:30 tonight, True TV. You can listen on the Lobo Radio Network. Rob Portnoy, Dontrell Moore, and Ned James will be on the sideline. Or not given. And there you go. True. We live in a world where I watched a game. I watched Washington State and San Jose State on the CW last night. And we will start with that because San Jose State was a massive, massive underdog. And they rolled into Pullman and looked pretty good. It went to overtime, 54-52 in overtime. I think the key takeaway, San Jose State scored 21 unanswered in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, Washington State rallied. They were up, 38-24 and tied it. But I think the key takeaway, since we talk a lot about Mountain West on this show, there is a plethora of very good wide receivers in the Mountain West between Torrey Horton, Ricky White III of UNLV, Torrey Horton of Colorado State. You have Luke Wysong. You can throw his name out there. And then Nick Nash of San Jose State, who's probably, again, a second, third round pick, but he had an incredibly explosive game.
Yeah,
16 catches, 100. Go ahead, Rick.
No, you got it there. I was just going to rattle off his stuff.
Yeah, 16 catches, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the season, he has 50 receptions for 637 yards, 8 touchdowns, 12.7 yards a catch. He basically kind of doubled his stats last night. And the Pac-12 After Dark, I didn't have time this morning, but it was a party, and I wanted to play Eddie Murphy's Party all the time to intro this segment, but running on fumes here. I don't know, Rick. You and I were texting. The game ended about like 1:45 our time, but it was a lot of fun to watch. I didn't expect San Jose State to come out like that. I know Washington State's defense isn't that good, but Emmett Brown, a transfer from Washington State, he replaced Chevin Cordero at San Jose State last night. 35 of 54, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He threw 1 in overtime. John, I think you say his name is Mater or Matir. He is a phenomenal quarterback. He was behind Cam Ward and Emmett Brown, and he has taken over this Washington State job. They're 4-0 and 3-0 at home. I know we host a college show. I don't know exactly how Washington State plays out with their college football playoff chances, but they get that Mountain West schedule. They're at Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, San Diego State, Utah State. They're here at New Mexico. We'll talk about that because I don't think New Mexico is going to have their defense figured out by November. Then Oregon State and then Wyoming. And a lot of those games are on the CW. That's fantastic. It was a fun game to watch, Rick. I wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, what a back and forth battle it was going into the third quarter. San Jose State was up 2 scores, and we kind of thought the game was over, and then they got a long play, and Matir, that guy, he just runs wild out there. He has an elusiveness about him. He had 111 yards as well as 390 passing. So he almost had 500 yards, or did have 500 yards of offense himself. San Jose State on the other side, their offense is loaded also with Emmett Brown. I feel kind of bad for him. I thought he was going to have the storybook ending, being the transfer from the school he was pounding. But in the end, what dooms San Jose State was running the football. They had 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter. They decided to go for it out of shotgun, and they ran the football with the quarterback. And then on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game where they had to score, they go out of shotgun and they drop back for a pass instead of running the ball up the middle, which had been successfully on that drive. So I hope the Lobos learn something from that game, that running the ball is a good thing, because they have not been doing it successfully either so far. But that game last night was my college game of the year so far. It was everything you could want: points, turnovers, running, passing, and no defense.
No, it was a lot of fun to watch, and I guess Paul Bonilla, who won, LOL. Well, I think I mentioned it, Washington State escaped with a 54-52 win. I do have to go here because I know John Romero and I'm sure Ronnie Chavez are listening. Yeah, Lindor's hurt. You need to fill me in, guys. My camera is ready. I don't know what that means. You're getting ready for your OnlyFans. I'm on deck. I'm in on the deck circle. Lindor has no shot for MVP after Ohtani's week. I will say this. I loved Skip Schumacher when somebody asked him if they were going to walk Ohtani on Thursday, and he said, quote, "Fuck that." And I gained a lot of respect for him, and especially his post-game interview, because he said he didn't want karma to come back to hit him like baseball gods wise. And they pitched to Ohtani, and I will say this. That might be the best offensive game in the history of Major League Baseball. And I know we're talking college football. I just wanted to go over that because obviously Ohtani was. Go ahead, Rick.
My one comment is, as a casual baseball fan that doesn't follow, how come ESPN and the media outlets were not tuning in to Ohtani every night like we were years ago for Barry Bonds' chase, for Sammy Sosa's chase, for Mark McGwire's home run? Why are we so focused on the WNBA playoffs when we have the greatest baseball player possibly chasing down a record that will never be touched again? Why are we not focusing on that every night? Instead, we're talking about meaningless topics. I think this should have been followed closer because I didn't know about it until it was happening. That's all I'll say for the casual fan.
Right. No, and let me give you a stat line. And Rick, I love basketball. This and again, I think he hit off the 51st and 52nd home run were ass blasted, or the 50 and 51st home run were ass blasted. Like he hit them in the upper deck in Miami. And there were people there for a Thursday game, and it looked like a lot of Dodger red. Dodger blue. Dodger red. What the hell? His stat line, his box score: 4 runs, 6 for 6, 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, no K. I mean, yeah, I have to give it to him, and he's done it all he's done it injured. It's an impressive feat. I watch baseball pretty religiously. The Mets are in the wild card hunt. I will say that it's very nice. The Braves lost last night. Bless their soul. So I've been tuned in. I had college football. I almost put on the Mets game last night, which I normally do every day. Then they took a lead, and then the Phillies came out and bent them over. But they did win Thursday night. So if they can figure out how to split this series or get 3 of 4 from the Phillies, they're 7 games back with, I think, 7 to go or 8 to go. So, that is not there. But Jacob and I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I love it. The Mets are currently 2 games ahead of the Braves. So if they get in, can't even laugh. Can't even jokingly laugh. I'd love to see the Dodgers. I will tell you this, Dodger fan. Who have you been eliminated by the last 2 years? Oh, that's right. Teams in your own division. And I said it 2 years ago. You don't want any of the Padres, and I said it last year. You don't want any of the Diamondbacks. So you don't want any of that. Yeah, I mean, I do like Ohtani. He is good. Again, he just wasn't playing the field. But after what he did this week, I'm coming around to him. He is a lot of fun to watch. Jacob just told me he woke up and he had a bad headache, and I will give me a second.
Tell him to come on. We want to see him.
Join us if you don't want to. Rick says, jump on. We want to see you.
One more thing I wanted to mention about San Jose State's offense.
Go ahead.
So we'll get back into football here. It's called the Spread and Shred. And I just really liked that name. I think the Lobos need to come up with a clever name for their offense. It'll be more intimidating for the other team.
That's a good thing. And we're bouncing off topics that is terrible. I wanted to finish there, and I'll piggyback off that in a second. I think the MLB does a terrible job marketing its sport. Like Memorial Day and Labor Day on Mondays, and like 8 teams are playing. You should have double headers that day, and they should embrace. The NBA has Christmas, kind of. I think the NFL's taking that over. The NFL has Thanksgiving. I think college football has New Year's, but I'm a big college football fan. I just think that Major League Baseball does a shitty job, and Rob Manfred is god awful. I would have a doubleheader on 4th of July, regardless of the day. I would embrace that. Baseball, I think, is fun to go to. I like baseball. I don't care who wins at the Isotopes. I know people are like, oh, who won? I'm there to see prospects. And as far as offenses go, what was it called? The Spread and Shred? Sounds terrible. Spread and Shred. I'm going to go to Ronnie at Lobo Ronnie. The pill and chop offense reflecting the chilly state. Now we can do something better than that.
I like it.
You like it? Yeah, all right. I'm coming around. Well, I'm going to go to my picks. I think Jacob's going to hop on here in a second, so I'll move that. This is a fantastic show this morning, I hope. I'm glad we have as many people as we do watching. Ben Wysong couldn't join us. On his way to Silver State. I sound like I have a cat in my throat. I like BYU +7. Love Avery Johnson and K-State. What's going on at BYU right now? They're in Provo. Too many points. They went on the road and beat SMU. They're undefeated, I believe. I had notes for it. I don't know where we're going with this. This is terrible. Georgia Tech at Louisville +10.5. It's just too much. I think Haynes King is It's a very good quarterback. He's had success there at Georgia Tech. They lost to Syracuse, and Syracuse looked like rat. They looked like my ass last night against Stanford of all teams. I can't figure out Stanford. And then USC, which apparently looks, not apparently, is a nice Rose Bowl matchup, but now it's a September matchup in the Big Ten because ESPN hates you and me. -4.5. Love Mason, not Mason Miller. Who's the closer for? Here we go. Talking about A's.
Miller
USC
Moss.
quarterback. I combine the two. Miller Moss. Mason Miller is like a very good human being, but compared to Ricky Vaughn in Major League, he's the closer for the A's. He's phenomenal, young talent. And I think he beat like cancer or something. He's got a really good story. So those are my picks. And that's Neff's lock. My lock for the day is the over in UNM and Fresno State at 60.5. Well, I'm going to tell you something here, Ronnie. Rome doesn't like the term suck. He says if you suck, you don't have a take. So he doesn't say that. Yeah, my Nevada pick sucked. But hey, my lock of the week was South Carolina plus 7.5. So I love you, Ronnie, but eat shit.
And I know you had Mr. UNLV Joe on the other night, but I think we need to give you some credit, Ryan. In your preseason poll, you did have UNLV getting in there, and they have delivered so far. So let's hope they keep playing well to keep this conference. I'd say a lot of these teams look a little bit stronger than we thought with UNLV and San Jose State. I think potentially making some noise and giving Boise some trouble this year.
Rick, I'm going to go to you on this. I don't know how we're going to answer this. I don't follow recruiting that hard. So when I hear it, it's like draft. I mean, I love college athletics, but it's like draft picks and, Caleb Williams is the next coming of Christ. I know it's only 2 games, but he's looked like my ass. I know you guys are doing Saturday and football show, but can you summarize Lobo basketball commits 2 guards, 6 and 6'1"? Why 2 similar guards? Rick, you made a comment to us in our group chat for the show that why did they get another small guard? Anything.
Sure. I looked into the signing yesterday. It's Jalen Petty, a 6-foot guard. Per Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated, who's come on our show a few times, who's just a wealth of basketball knowledge. He said he had a great summer on the Adidas circuit court. And he's really more of a shooter and scorer. And this is Jalen Petty. He was a top 150 recruit coming out. So he's more of a shooter and scorer based on what I've seen. The other gentleman that we picked up, what was his name? The other 6-foot guard that we got from California, he's more of a defensive guard. Let me find his name here. So, I mean, right now, if you look at the Lobos roster construction, the point guards in my eyes, obviously Donovan Dent, the freshman they got coming in this year. I'm blowing all these guys' names right now. But to me, they were a little not too deep at the guard position. And if you're looking forward the next 3 or 4 years, I think these guys kind of fit in. Yeah, they're both small, but they have different skill sets. The other young man that they got was Isaac Williamson. He was Defensive Player of the Year in his conference last year. He's known as a disruptor on defense. So even though they're both similar in size and stature, I think their games are very different in what they bring. If you look at last few years, we had 3 guards about the same size in Mash, House, and Dent, but their skill sets were all very different and they kind of complemented each other. So I'd look for similar type of play. The other guard that I was forgetting about is Cade Dodson, who will be a freshman this year. And I think he's going to be a special player. He's a shooter and a scorer as well. So I think the mix of those 3 guards developing over the next few years will be a special combination. Looking forward, though, at the other recruits, though, I think, we got to start looking at some wing players. The post position seems pretty loaded right now, but we never know year to year who's going to transfer, especially now with the news of the Mountain West Conference coming to an end. But so far on our recruiting trail, it hasn't mattered to these 2 young guys as they're going to be joining the team. And again, that was Isaac Williamson, and the gentleman we got yesterday is Jalen Petty. So real high on Jalen Petty. It sounds 3 or 4-star recruit.
Hopefully Donovan Dent is coming back. Wait. I want to make sure I'm reading this right because I'm loopy. Hopefully Donovan Dent isn't coming back. Best thing for all is Dent is a 1st-round draft pick in the league. I think and me, not the Lobo fan, or objectively, I think you mean he does come back. I mean, I get he's making money now.
He's saying he hopes Dent makes it to the NBA.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be cool. You know who I efforted a while ago was Josiah Alec, and he reached out to me. We're trying to talk to other famous. I can't talk, and it sucks. I reached out to him, and I'm throwing this out to those who regularly listen. If you wouldn't mind if we talk to, well, I don't know, it's my company and my show, but I'm just saying, would you appreciate if we continue to talk to former Lobos? Ed and I were doing that for a while, and I thought Josiah's story last year with Nebraska was pretty good. I know we're all over the place, but I just saw this. Eric posted this on Twitter. Not ideal for NMSU, who are already struggling with QB play this season. Nick Coppola, who's a friend of the show, he's at the Las Cruces Sun News. We'll be bugging him heavily next week. Fears confirmed today New Mexico State QB Deuce Hogan is out. And then Masara Chad tweeted out, Lobos are going to blow their asses out. Masara Chad, I hope I pronounced that right. Masara Chad. I like the way you think. Going to the comments again. This is a fantastic show this morning. Love me some Pit Press. Love me some David Fresquez. Love the Howl. Jasir, I hope, comes to UNM. Go UNM and go blue. If you mean Michigan, David, I've never met you, but I love you. Godspeed. Best thing for everyone is obviously Dent next season belongs in the NBA. I mean, I don't Z Mountain Shadow, appreciate you. I know you haven't commented in a while. We appreciate it. I couldn't disagree more. I think you want this kid to play here as long as he can and go down as one of the best Lobos ever, best Lobo point guards. And I feel like that's blasphemy with what I'm saying. Before we start talking about Fresno State on this wild and wacky morning Howl today, I do want to give Neff's picks. He can come on and talk about it if he wants. I read his pick. Oh, no, I did read. He likes BYU +7. I do too. Colorado -2. He knows something I don't. I would probably call him crazy. Over Charlotte and Indiana over 50. Indiana can score, and they might be the best hidden secret in the Big Ten. And then his lock is the Ragin, is the Tulane Green Wave, which is the best. I think one of the best color schemes and logos in all of college football. They take on the Ragin Cage. Every time I see Louisiana Lafayette, I think of Farmer Fran and the water boy Ishio dog. And then he eats those the gator cakes and walks up and you don't understand what he says. But yeah, those are Neff's picks. I'm not sure if he will join us. Ronnie, again, my lock. I try to think of my picks last week. I think I went 2-2, but my lock hit. So Neff, I think, hit really well. I meant to look at them, but again, it's been a terrible week. So there you go. To today's game. And Fresno State coming in it opened up at 16.5 point favorites. It's now down to 13.5. Again, UNM has, I think, covered the spread in all three games, unless you're me and you got them at 23.5 last week. They did not cover against Auburn. Rick, I know that I saw some of the comments from Wednesday night or Tuesday night when I did not host. And somebody had said, man, Rick's really digging into the football team. And I was like, well, he's probably has some of my inner hatred or bias towards the Lobo football program. Love you, Frank Mercogliano. Once again, I read this Wednesday night. And I didn't read Frank's notes this week, I usually read it. So I'm probably missing something. And I always try to read to see if he's taking a shot at me. Again, 141 total points. I mentioned this Wednesday night, but you'll see what I'm getting to. They've had 28 penalties for 207 yards, over 9 a game. Fresno State scored 10, 46, 48 to average 103, and they scored 10 points against Michigan and were in that game. UNM gives up 8.4 yards per game. They've given up 19 touchdowns. It's 1,697 yards. As of Thursday morning, out of 133 NCAA teams, they were 132nd. And we've talked about improvement. And I'm going to steal Rick's thunder because I think he's 100% right in this. I think, and I'm sorry, Rick, that I'm still in your thunder here. I'm going to say it. You can piggyback off it because I was thinking about it. there is talent on this football team, especially on the offensive side. I think Christian Ellis has had a phenomenal season on this defensive side. And again, this isn't a knock on these kids. I've met them. I met some of them. I like them. Bobby Arnold, Gabe Lopez. I'm just trying to be objective. It's almost identical to last year. I know that they put up good points against U of A. I don't think U of A is as good as anybody thought. And Bronco Mendenhall has said it. You know, it's a preseason ranking. Who cares? He didn't say it like that. That's how I said it. And Rick, I'll let you give your thoughts because I looked at the first 3 games penalty-wise last year to the first 3 games penalty-wise this year. In 2023, and Danny Gonzalez's last year against Texas A&M on the road, they lost, 52-10? They had 10 penalties for 114 yards. Against Tennessee Tech, a game they won 56-10. They had 11 penalties for 95 yards. Against NMSU, they had 7 penalties for 55 yards in a game they lost by double digits, 27-17. This year thus far against Montana State, they had 4 penalties for 30 yards. U of A, 8 for 65. And against Auburn, they had 16 penalties for 112 yards. Through the first 3 games, they have had 28 penalties. That has matched last year's first 3 games total for 207 yards. So it's essentially 40-some yards difference in penalties, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's improvement." I had anticipation going into Auburn. I didn't think they looked that good against Auburn because this Auburn team is not that good. I thought they looked worse against Auburn than they did against Montana State in the first quarter and what they looked like against U of A in the second half. And I see on Twitter, and I know it's certain people, we've had Mackenzie Bishop on. He's a pleasure. I love his enthusiasm. I couldn't disagree more. And I know that Rome is not built in a night. Rome wasn't built in a night. Is that the saying? Rome was, my head hurts. But I haven't seen much of a difference, and the penalties there show it. So I think that I am stealing Rick's thunder because they have been bailed out by Donovan Dampier and Luke Wysong, and those are positive things. Luke's played phenomenal. And I think, again, he's played himself well into probably being looked at in the NFL draft in a year or two. But with the landscape of the way things are changing, this does not bode well for UNM. And we mentioned in the summer, this looked like an 0-4 start, and we are knocking on the door of an 0-4 start. Yeah, New Mexico State, and for those who listen, again, I've always said UNM or NMSU was a covering machine for me last year, but their quarterback play, there's 2 things that stink. I'm going to say it again. My ass and New Mexico State's quarterback play. Tony Sanchez looked like his head was going to explode last Saturday night in Fresno. They looked discombobulated. They didn't look like a real football team. I think they should beat New Mexico State, and I think they should roll New Mexico State. Air Force, Wyoming don't look good, but you can't sit here and tell me the way this defense has looked that they're going to be able to stop Washington State or Fresno tonight. And I know Washington State's like 2 months away. I'm stealing thunder from Ned James too. Offense puts seats in the stands, defense wins games, and special teams wins championships. They haven't played any defense and they're 0-3. Rick, I stole your thunder. I wanted your thoughts on that.
Right. So the things we wanted to see improvement on, I think, as fans and as us on the show, were things that were under their control. One of those things being penalties, and hitting on that, like you're saying, last year, almost 10 penalties a game for 89 yards a game. Well, through 3 games this year, they're still at 69 penalty yards a game and 9 penalties a game. So that's one thing that hasn't changed. We thought the defense would be somewhat of a factor and get better because that was not a strong point this last season. Well, how do you support your defense when you can obviously see it's not a strong point? Well, one would think running the football. Eli Sanders is a great player. He's averaged 4.7 yards per carry, but for some reason, New Mexico insists on throwing the football 44 times last game. And I know you're down, but the game was not out of reach until maybe the end of the third quarter. UNM is ranked 100th in rushing plays rate and 89th in success rate. So that means they're 100th in the amount of times they're running the ball, even though they've been fairly successful at it with Sanders almost 5 yards a carry. But for some reason, Dampier is still the leading rusher on the team with over 190 yards. So I think in my eyes, the offense at the running, yes, it looks better. It looks more competent. That's because they have flashier players this year. Dampier is a playmaker. He's eluding and making plays with his feet. That's fantastic. The offensive coordinator, is it Jason Beck or is he defensive?
Offensive is Jason Beck and defense is Mike Howl.
What I would suggest to Beck is they need to run more of the play action with Dampier. They need to run the stretch play like the Denver Broncos did for years, and Clint and Gary Kubiak. You stretch the ball out, and then you run the boot back to the other side. And Dampier, we know, can run the boot, but they're not setting it up correctly. They're not even running the RPO enough. So to me, they're greatly underusing these skill players that we have, and these are the best skill players we've seen in some time, probably since they last made a bowl game. So we're not seeing things that they can control be used to their advantage, being disciplined on defense, not getting penalties out of special teams plays, not even setting up in the right formation sometimes, and then using the great weapons that we have on offense more efficiently. So Fresno's strength coming in here is their defense. Fresno is not a great offense this year in my eyes. Mikey Keene has thrown almost as many interceptions as touchdowns so far. And their running back, is it Sherrod? I believe has not been.
Malik
Sherrod. He has not been very effective so far. So if the Lobos want to hang around today, they just have to limit the big plays of Fresno, because that's how Fresno has been winning these games. And on the other side of the ball, they need to consistently run the ball, which I doubt we're going to see. But this is what I think, and this would give the defense a break and keep the defense off the field, which is by far their biggest weakness right now.
Malik Sherrod has rushed for 191 yards. If you would have told me that through 3 games, I thought he would have had a little bit more. He definitely would have been over 200. Mikey Keene is 58 of 93, 814 yards, 62% completion rate, 8.8 yards a pass. His long was 75. Sacramento State, or was it Portland State, that kind of went in and put some points on them. He's thrown 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. The wide receiver, Magdalena, not to be confused with Magdalena, has 15 receptions for 384 yards. And he has 3 touchdowns. So again, the wide receivers in the Mountain West, I'm really impressed by them. You can throw him in the mix. And I think they've got a couple other key players like Jalen Moss. But you have to remember, this is a Fresno State team that lost to UNM last year. And the grumblings that I heard were that I hadn't heard Ryan, I was going to nominate you to the NMSU Aggie Booster Club this week after your stinky comment towards them. We'll be withdrawing that motion and nomination. Yeah, if you're voting for Trump, I will donate in your name to the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz campaign. Roger Holian, if you're listening. I mean, Fresno State has. Fresno State lost to UNM last year, and the grumblings that I had heard were that Danny Gonzalez and Dave Williams wanted to fire him after that game, but they won. So I wonder if Fresno's mad, and they've kind of had, at 2 of the last 3, Fresno State has lost to UNM. And you have to be thinking a majority of these guys on that team last year, and again, I haven't mentioned Corey Foreman, who was a 5-star USC recruit, was interchangeable in that defense, is now on Fresno State's defense. And he is, we asked Taylor Martinez about that. And I think Ben Wysong, how important of a role he has, but you have talent like that on defense in Fresno. I mean, I don't know how. I'm sure they're still thinking about last year. I know it was Jeff Tedford and Tim Skipper. He was on that staff, but I don't know. I think Fresno's out for revenge. And the one thing that I was trying to look up here, where is it? Here we go. I got to show this again because I completely forgot to open the show with it. And I'm going to use Mackenzie Bishop of Abrazo Homes. And then obviously I've met him at Cerveza Lobo. Met him at one of the games last year. Have to show this because this was after the game last year. If anybody remembers it, because I forgot.
Imagine that. We're fine. We're fine. This fucking team lost to Boise by 30 and UNLV by 40. And we beat both those teams. Unbelievable. They had 97 penalty yards to our 5. And they come into Fresno and they whoop that candy ass like a bunch of soft bitches. Little soft little bitches. Little junior high bitches. Unbelievable. 500 yards to our 200. Unbelievable. Oh, Time out. Hey, Jeff Tedford wants the entire stadium to get loud on every down. We need to get loud every down, Jeff. We're getting our ass kicked by a fucking D5 school. D5. They run for 300 yards on us, and we ran for 40. And Mikey Keene comes in to save the day. That cock-sucking motherfucker, soft-ass bitch. Soft. He's made of glass. Glass.
I love that. It's one of my favorite things. I mean, he wasn't wrong. They ran all over him and they beat UNLV and Boise, and UNM got humbled by UNLV and Boise. Rick, you said you had some depth chart news.
Yeah, so safety Tavian Combs for the Lobos. I don't believe he's played this year. He was finally seen at Tuesday's practice, rocking the turquoise jersey, meaning he finally has some limited contact. He has been out with a walking boot for the majority of camp, but it's still unclear what his status is. Also in the secondary, safety Skylar Cook, along with linebacker Tyreek Austin Cave, were also in turquoise this week, so they were limited. One depth chart, or a few depth chart changes that we noticed. Caleb Medford, after those few big plays he had last week, is now listed at the starter at X receiver over Nick Trujillo. And cornerback Nigel Williams is now listed as starting back, coming up with 2 tackles and a forced fumble last week at Auburn. And also edge rusher Moso Tuteli has replaced Big O Okiki Olofenumi as the starting DN. So Lobos are making some changes on defense at nickelback and edge rusher here. Hopefully they can bring some pressure, because that was non-existent last week against Hank Brown and Auburn. And I think if they're going to stay alive, they will have to cause turnovers, like we've said every week, and they've been pretty good at doing that. So I think if they can get a fumble or interception early, their secondary has been able to do that. So I think that would help.
They look like the Eagles pass rush on Monday night. Which was non-existent on that final drive, or pretty much all night. I mean, that's good news. I had Tavian Combs on last year, and I know he's been injury plagued, so that's good news. I'm happy to hear that. Wow, they did something. So there's a lot going on today at the UNM football game, which kudos to UNM. Live band, don't know who it is. Hopefully it's Al Hurricane Jr. Inflatables, Bubba's. I guess Bubba's 33 will be there. Various vendors. Cherry on top balloon and lowrider. Hey, Rick, you're missing out on lowriders. Cherry on top bobble giveaway, courtesy of Pepsi. First 2,500 fans. Which, when you really think about it, for a 40,000 seat stadium, that's not a lot. And then Robin Cole will be honored at halftime. He will be introduced in the Ring of Honor. And then they're asking you to light up UNM Stadium, which I'm going to be interested to see that tonight with how many people are there. So they're asking you to turn on your phone. And then they're 10 minutes after the conclusion of the game.
I have a comment.
Go right ahead, Rick.
if the Lobos are in a close game and then they have this light up thing, let me tell you, I don't know how many people will be there, 10,000 phone lights up in your eyes. If you're Devin Dampier looking into the end zone, I hope they do it during the timeout and people turn the lights off after that time.
I'm looking at the concessions map here on golobos.com, and you know what? I'm going to share it because I don't think this is something they have done before. So kudos to UNM. Beer portable. Very important. There you go. There's your beer. Beer garden patio. I didn't know they had a beer garden.
All right.
Yeah. Concessions. I don't know what this is. Don't they have Pizza 9 and Laguna Burger? I can't read that. I guess Hawaiian Ice, Sugar Shack. Whoa. And then this is I preferred route, alternate route. I guess I got to read it. You can celebrate. But yeah, there's the fireworks. Light it up in our first night game, so fans need to download the Lobo Sports app. Oh, glad I'm reading this. Lobo fans need to download the Lobo Sports app. And for a lot of you out there, I think that I knew this, but many people out there probably didn't know that there was a Lobo Sports app to use their phones for the dynamic light show at the end of the third quarter during that break. This isn't a turn on your cell phone flashlight. Glad I'm reading this deal. Frank Mercagliano definitely wrote that, but rather a coordinated flashlight show with the music, the stadium lighting, and your Lobo Sports app. Fans will want to have the free app anyways, as it's the best way to get stats and the latest Lobo news. But certainly fans will want to be a part of the in-game experience at the end of the third quarter. Here's Robin Cole, one of the all-time greats. Again, I think he won 2 Super Bowls with the Steelers, 13 and 14. Of course, 13 against that epic game against the Dallas Cowboys and Jackie Smith. Roger Staubach missed him. He dropped it in the end of the end zone. I love NFL history, and whoever was calling that game said Jackie Smith might be the sickest man in America. And then 14, when they beat the Rams, Preston Denard was on that Rams team, former UNM wide receiver. One of the all-time greats, Robin Cole, will be inducted as the 7th member of the Lobo Football Ring of Honor alongside Mike Williams, Don Perkins, Bobby Santiago, Breon Erlasher, Terrence Mathis, and Dontrell Moore. Cole will be inducted at the end of the first quarter, and he will speak at the crowd during one of the first half media breaks. Fans will definitely want to be there to celebrate one of the greatest Lobos putting on children's theory. And in Robin's case, turquoise as well in Robin Cole.
Man, we need to bring those.
One thing I wanted
jerseys back. Can you bring that picture up again?
Yes.
I think the Lobos, with all these color combinations that teams are doing these days, I think we need to bring that turquoise jersey back. That is pretty slick. I think the basketball team does that once in a while also.
I like the Z on the helmet. Oh, hello. My child is watching YouTube. He could care less. Yeah, I like those jerseys, man. I'll be honest.
And the logo on the helmet. I like the whole thing. Let's bring that back this year.
I wish they would do that. I'm sure that the turquoise and cherry on the side. I have said this, and I'm a big Steve Alford guy, and I've mentioned this on this show and on my radio show. This shield right here, and I know you can't see me pointing to it, on the bottom of the screen, that is a Steve Alford invention, and I use that closely, and that was his logo. Coach Alford has been super cool with me and a lot of things, interviewing him basketball wise since he's been at Nevada. I have a lot of respect for him. Bryce has come on the show. And I'm a Steve Alford guy, which is very, very far few in between. But to tell that to Lobo fans, that's my understanding is that's his creation. Allegedly, which I don't like it. It to me looks like something you could have used in the early 2000 Madden on a creative team. I wish that they would go back to something like that. And I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I like that NMSU has the Zia on the helmet. Not so much Quigley down under holding guns. But I like New Mexico State's helmet. I think they're really cool. I don't like that shield. I think it sucks. I'm just going to be honest. I know Ronnie saying something sucks isn't a take. I wish they would completely get rid of that. I would go back with this, what they have on the field at midfield, that Rocky Long logo. I think they got sued by NC State, so they can't use that old wolf that I like. I wish they just go to the Zia at something like that, or the UNM, the UNM font. Where is it? Right here, right there in the middle. I love that. I think that is fantastic. Here it is. Oh no, you can't see it. I wish they would put that on the helmet. I think that Lobo shield sucks. And now to the comments. Oh, whoops. I accidentally removed Rick. That's the kind of show it's been this morning. Yeah, Rick, I love those uniforms. I think they would bring those back. Z-Mountain Shadow, we needed a Robin Cole-like players to sign with UNM, but that may now be a bridge too far. Very good movie. Is it Robin Cole being? Yes, he is. And I was going to mention that. UNM did a piss poor job of announcing that. Let me tell you. That is, I think, a slap in the face to him for them just like, oh, a couple days, hey, we're retiring his number. For somebody who was one of the more prominent players in the program and its history, UNM needs to be talking with UNLV, Grand Canyon, St. Mary's, Gonzaga, et cetera, about forming a basketballing conference. Needs to happen pronto. That's not happening. UNLV is probably going to the Big 12. This is not – Albuquerque is not the Vegas market. Fox predicts 34-29 Fresno State win. You guys think it will be that close? No. Rick, your thoughts?
Okay, let me give my official prediction here then, because I'm going to have to hop out. I know the spread is at 14. Fresno defense is very strong. Lobos defense is not very strong. I think Lobos can cover, 13, Ryan, today, because I don't think the Fresno offense is as explosive as some of the ones they've faced so far. If the Lobos can get a few turnovers or a few big plays, I think they hang. The problem for the Lobos is the second half of games. That defense is just wearing down, worst rush defense in the entire country. Let's just hope Fresno doesn't really find their footing today. They do overmatch the Lobos greatly, but I think the Lobos hang today and cover. I'm going to say 38-28 Fresno.
I believe that gets me my over. Ronnie Chavez, here we'll wrap this up quickly because I'm about to drop dead. Nick Saban said on game day today that it's not all on the coach to get a program going. It has to be shared amongst the administration of the school and the athletic department. I couldn't agree more because I think UNM, up until today, does a piss poor job of marketing. But I don't have a degree in marketing. I can tell you about the Battle of Peleliu. Reverse the score in Fresno will be that close. Jimmy H. Hopefully. I prefer the side view to that shield. I couldn't agree more. Rick, enjoy college. Oh, one more. Decades ago, Fresno State. Yes, we know. South Alabama scored 87 last Thursday against Northwestern State. That was the most since 1991 when Fresno put up, I think, 91. It was 91 to like 17 or something. Yeah, that's the most points, I think, in a college football game in the last, 40 or 50 years. So, Jacob and I know Eric and I will be at the game today. Once again, I just want to promote this tomorrow, 2024 Walking Wheels to NALS at the UNM Track and Soccer Complex. Head out there. I know the ALS people. They're fantastic. Rick, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Ryan Tamori. This has been the Pit Press Live. We will talk to you Tuesday night this was the Morning Howl, brought to you by Dulce River Bakery and Coffee. We will be back Tuesday night live. I was at that Fresno game. Good. Jimmy H. I'll ask you about that next time. Comment on it. Everybody enjoy college football. Be safe. Enjoy the NFL. We will talk to you Tuesday night.
Join us for the annual Walk and Wheel on Sunday, September 22nd to end ALS. We've high-fived thousands of participants, raised millions of dollars, and impacted hundreds of families. With your help, the good keeps growing. Register at walkandwheelnm.org. See you there.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mental.
details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.